Hey everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with the Moms. It's Nicole today, and so today I'm going to be making my chicken parm just the way that I make it, that I know how to do it. This is definitely more of a weekend type of deal, making it wise, unless you have a ton of time like during the day to do it. But it is something that you're going to be in the kitchen for a little bit. It does take a little bit of extra time because there's a couple steps to it. So this isn't like super fast and easy thing to do. I was home with my son and it took me a good 2 hours to get it done. And that's with like stopping and playing. And you know, if you're a parent and you have a kid at home, you're trying to make something like this, you definitely know it's going to take you a little bit of extra time stopping and, you know, all that stuff. All right, so what we have today, I do have some marinara sauce from the store that I just added to thicken it up. I do have some homemade sauce too, which is, my homemade sauce is a little bit thinner. It's not as thick. So that's why I just added a little bit of the marinara sauce to thicken it up. I have some breadcrumbs. I do prefer the Italian style breadcrumbs because it does have some seasonings in there, which I definitely think is a good thing to have in there. I think there's a couple different ones. You can just get plain, but I prefer to have the Italian seasoning in there. I also use mozzarella cheese. It really doesn't matter. The package I grabbed was part skim. They have a couple different ones. I just grabbed that. I don't really feel like it makes a difference. I can't taste a difference. It's mozzarella cheese to me. I do have 4 pieces of chicken breasts, and those are some pretty thick, it's like big, thick chicken breasts that I have that I'm using. And you'll also need, in that mason jar, the white mason jar, I keep flour in there. So that is what's in that jar right there for you. And I also use, you'll also need some eggs for the breading and everything like that. Also, what I forgot to put in here is you will need some like extra virgin olive oil. I would not suggest using vegetable oil. You definitely want to use some vegetable oil because you will be putting this in a pan and cooking with it clearly. So I just feel like it tastes a little bit better than using like the vegetable oil. That's just a personal preference. Again, that's what I prefer. I also have I actually have Italian seasoning that I actually add a little bit more to the breadcrumbs with that. And again, that's just for flavor. You can also, if you want to in the breadcrumbs, if you want a little bit more, add some like salt and pepper if you'd like. You can even add some, if you want like some garlic powder or salt in there and some like onion powder in there too. I didn't put it in there, but you can definitely do that, and that'll just give you a little bit more of a flavor to the breading, so it's not just a bland breading. I definitely think that cooking with seasonings and adding more to it definitely brings out more of the flavor of whatever you're making, and it also makes it taste better. I know some people don't use a lot of seasoning. I am the complete opposite. I use a lot. I really like a lot of seasoning, and if you've watched any of my other videos with seasoning with certain things, I do not measure. So just so you know for that tip. But so this is something that I've made for my family before. I normally make it in the winter, but I had a lot of this stuff already, so I figured I'd make it and I'd just show you how I do it. A lot of people will make it with chicken cutlets, and those will cook a little bit faster. I just cut them up into more of a tender, so they do take a little bit more time to cook. Just so you know that little tidbit before we start. All right, so let's get right into making this very yummy dish. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to clean your chicken off. I already have cut off all the excess kind of fat and all that business. And I put down saran wrap on the bottom of the chicken, and then I also put saran wrap on the top of the chicken. This just helps with not spreading the germies and the whatever else, the salmonella, all that business. I mean, you've already washed it, so a lot of that should be off. But just as an extra precaution, before I thin these out a little bit with the meat mallet that I have there. Definitely do that, and it makes cleanup a lot easier. So again, just use a saran wrap on the top and bottom, put those chickens right in between, and then if you have a little bit of anger, you can just pound it all right out and make it nice and thin. I don't use the tenderizer side. So then, like I said, I just cut the chickens into tenders. I try and make them as even as possible. I try and make the thickness also of the chicken so that they cook the same. So then I get my breadcrumbs that I have, the Italian seasoning breadcrumbs, and I actually add more Italian seasoning to that. And I used more seasoning than this for all the chicken. And then you're going to get, this is about a cup of flour. You can use a little bit less depending on, or more. And I also have 2 eggs that I put in this, and I just kind of whisk them together. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put the chicken into your flour that you have, and you just want to make sure you get the flour coated all over all of it, the whole piece of chicken. And then what you're going to do is you're going to then put it into the piece of chicken into the egg wash. And now I use a fork so I don't, because like, again, the germs and the salmonella and all that business and whatever else. So I do use a fork to move it around. It also helps so your hands don't get as dirty, because it all starts to build up on your hands. So you're not washing your hands a million times in between. And then I take it with the fork. I kind of let the extra egg drain off of there. You don't have to do that. That's just something that I do. And then what I will do is I will bring it over to the breadcrumbs and your Italian mixture. Try not to get the fork into the breadcrumbs. And then I just move it around with my hand. This is taking me a little bit longer than normal, just because I'm only using one hand. And then I will just move it to the plate. So here it is. Here is all of the 4 pieces of chicken that I have, all sliced up into tenders and went through all of the 3 steps. Then what I will do is I will take my extra virgin olive oil and I will put it, and you want to use a very deep pan to do this. And you're going to let it heat up. And then once you start to hear the oil heat up, you will know what I'm talking about. And then you will just, and you don't want to use your hands to put it, I mean, you can, people do it, but if you don't want to burn your hands and get all the splashage of the hot oil, put it in with a fork. And so I just do that. I'm sorry that it's kind of it's not in, I was more paying attention so I didn't burn myself. So sorry about the shakiness of this a little bit. And as you can see, all the bubbling when I put the chicken in there. And you can just put as many as you want, because you don't want to do too many, runs of this, kind of like putting the chicken in there, because the oil will start to burn each piece. So then after I've left it in there for a little bit, you're going to want to take, I use just like tongs, and I kind of squeeze them to see how much they're done, because you want them half cooked before you flip them over. So what you're going to do is you're just going to flip them over and see how they have like a little bit of goldenness to them. That's what you're going to want to look for on either side. So, and you just kind of want to like, and I did tap it, and I did that just to like make sure that that portion was cooked through thoroughly. So after you flipped them over, after you flipped over each piece, what you're going to do is you're going to set your top right back on. The reason that I leave the top on is so it kind of cooks thoroughly and the heat is kind of going through the pan as opposed to just leaving the pan. Also too, it's a great thing so you're not having all that splashes to clean up and you're not going to burn yourself. So as those are cooking, what I will do is I sprayed my 13x9 pan with Pam, and then you're going to want to put sauce on the bottom of the pan. And then I also set my oven to 350. And now this is half of it cooked. The other half is still cooking. So while the rest of it's cooked, the rest of the chicken's cooking up, you can just place each piece of your chicken on the bottom of, well, actually technically on top of your sauce that you have down there on the pan. And you just kind of want to put it on there. You want to try it. I mean, you have to sometimes overlap depending on how many pieces of chicken that you are putting in there. But I try and get it as even as possible so it cooks nice and even. Here is all the chicken inside of the pan. It's all cooked. And then what I do is I will pour a majority of the rest of the jar in there. And then I'll put a little bit more of the marinara sauce on top to thicken it up. Then I will take my mozzarella. I do not use a ton of mozzarella. I like to use the shredded mozzarella for this part. So then after you put your mozzarella on, you're going to want to cover it with tin foil, and then you're going to put it in the oven at 350. You're going to put it in there. I put mine in for about 20-25 minutes with the cover on, and then with the tinfoil cover on. And then after that 20-25 minutes is over, you're going to want to pull it out, take the tinfoil right off of top of it, and then I put it back in for about 10 to another 15 minutes. And just to let all the cheese like kind of melt more on top, just so it's like gooey and ooey and yummy. So that is how I normally do it. And then you'll see it all too, like bubbling and everything. All right, so I did not film any of that part. I was a little busy with my son. So the next part that we're jumping to will be it all finished. So here it is all finished, and you can still see some of it bubbling around, but oh my God, it's so good and so yummy. And yes, it does take a little bit of time. You could definitely make the chicken like the day before. I just prefer to do it all at once so the chicken doesn't really dry out too much. But again, like I've said, I've made this a bunch of times. I just wanted to make this for you guys and just show you how I do it. And like I said in the beginning, if you want to, you can make it with chicken cutlets, which is, they're just very thin pieces and you don't cut it up like I did, like the tenders. But I just prefer to do it like that. When you are cooking them in the pan with the oil, when you're frying them up in the pan with oil, they will take a little bit longer to cook. The chicken cutlets are a lot thinner, so that doesn't have to cook as much. And they do end up being nice and crispy. But that is why I like to bake this a little bit longer together, just so that I know that it's all crispy and it's not, I like things a little bit crispier when it comes to the breading as opposed to it being kind of mushy and all that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I love cooking, so this is so much fun to be able to share it with people. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy. And I hope you're making some of these for your family. Let me know how they turn out if you do. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Again, me and Lisa just want to say thank you so much for all the support that you guys have been giving, all the comments and the likes and everything. We really have a lot of fun doing these, and we love to share our ideas and everything that we have with you guys. So again, enjoy, and we will see you guys back soon. Bye.